When Serbian nationalist Gavrilo Princip assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand in June 1914, a chain reaction was set off. Ferdinand was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. Both Austria-Hungary and Serbia were part of a complex system of European alliances. On one side, the Central Powers, including Austria-Hungary and Germany. On the other, Serbia's protector state Russia, together with France and Britain. The First World War saw these countries and their allies pitted against each other. In 1914, nationalism was a strong force in Europe, and many countries were eager to fight. But it wasn't careful strategizing that prompted the outbreak of the war in August. It was diplomatic failure.
The responsibility for the outbreak of the war must be collectively borne by several parties. Of course, Germany has a special responsibility, not because it acted in an especially reckless, irresponsible or criminal manner, but because of its unique geopolitical situation in the middle of the continent.
A conflict of unprecedented dimensions began. It was fought all over the world, in Asia and Africa, but most of all in Europe, on two major fronts. In Eastern Europe, the Central Powers enjoyed several military successes, but they weren't able to subdue Russia quickly. In 1917, Russia withdrew from the war after its Tsarist empire was destroyed by domestic revolution. On the Western Front, in Belgium and France, a pattern of static trench warfare was quickly established. The Germans had counted on rapid victory, but they met with fierce resistance from the Allies. In a devastating war of attrition, the two sides tried to obliterate each other. Millions of people were killed in the process.
Strategic creativity played only a minor role during World War I. Neither side could see a way to introduce mobile warfare on the Western Front. So the primary means of battle remained mechanized warfare, coupled with a series of senseless offensives.
The technology deployed became increasingly deadly. Submarines, fighter planes, bombers, tanks, and even chemical weapons, including poison gas, although their use had been banned. But none of these was enough for either side to win.
What made World War I so dramatic for the remainder of the 20th century was that it represented a convergence of many separate European conflicts. And even after all military campaigns had failed, it couldn't be ended by diplomacy.
The turning point came in April 1917, when the United States entered the conflict. A year later, the war was over. It was a huge relief, but the human toll had been enormous. 17 million people dead, 20 million wounded, and whole nations traumatized. The world had been changed forever.